Hi all. Right, before moving on to the last part of the 18th, I'm just redoing this first part of the video because if any of you watched my comments back and forth with Martin regarding the situation with German attacking units taking hits, and it was in this combat last time, I was a little surprised Martin came back to me saying that he would count this non-active unit in the hex. I automatically wouldn't think it. However, when you look at the actual rule, it says steps in the hex. It doesn't differentiate between the attacking unit. Well, then I thought it did, and I was looking at the rule, and I was actually looking at the rule assigning hits to German attackers, which does talk about steps in the attacking units. So I got myself muddled up, thought it was different in the player aid than what it was in the rule book, but I'm looking at the wrong rule. There's 12.53 assigning hits to German attackers, and then there's 12.6 applying stat losses. And it's within applying stat losses that it just talks about the unit in the hex with the most total steps. And this is what Martin originally came back and said, and then I went and looked for it because I wasn't sure, and then found something wrong that I was looking at, and tried to say it was different from the rule book and the player aid, and got myself all in a bit of muddle. Eventually I realised what I had done. Martin kept coming back saying, well, that's a different thing, and I wasn't grasping it, but I eventually realised what I had done. So I suppose rules as written, when you're considering the amount of steps in that hex when there's been an attack made and this has been a non-active unit, then there's nothing to say that you wouldn't count that. When you're deciding what is it, within 12.53 assigning the hits, you do that is determined on the attacking units, not the non-active unit. But when you're actually dishing out the hits, you then, according to the rules anyway, you then would count all the units in the hex. So that's that. Now, I'm not so sure that's been the intention of the rule, but unfortunately that's how it's written. Would be interesting to see if I chucked a post out there if John maybe would see that. I mean, there is a possibility that's how they intended to have it, because there is more steps, even if it's different units, different cores in that hex. So it could be that it was intended that way. But the thing is, we'll just have to play it that way, because that's how the rule is. Now you might see there's maybe a scarcity of detachment markers about it. That's because I've recorded the end of this, but I just thought I'm as well cutting the bit out, because I'm going discussing this in the wrong way. And then I eventually realised where I went wrong, so I thought I'll just record this small part again and cut the bit out that was a lot of rubbish. So hopefully I can join it together okay. And then you can see the rest of the last part of the day. Okay. Right, so last two cards in the German draw pile are... Right, I'm going to turn this over. Right, I've got 47th again. Yeah, I did feel like we were missing out on them. Oh, we've got a Bridge Engineers event though, so I think that's a good thing for us, isn't it? Although in saying that, it is going to put these guys back into supply. Okay, we're jumping ahead. This is the primary card, so this is going to go in the command card box. This is going to be the support card. And the good thing for us is it means the 47th aren't going to activate again. The bad thing is they're going to use this for the event, Bridge Engineers. And I'm pretty sure they're going to fix the bridge down the south and get all their units in supply from the 80 core. I don't know, there's one worse than the other. I think probably activating the 47th again we would have frowned upon a bit more probably, but okay. Right, so it's pretty straightforward here. There's 3 bridges possible to repair, but both sides of the bridge need to be free of ally control, which is not the case here and not the case here. It is, however, the case here. Both hexes are free of ally control, and German supply is traceable out at least one of the hexes, isn't it? At least one of these hexes must be in German supply. German units negate ally zone of control in the hex they occupy. Yeah, well, that means if we had a German unit in here, for instance, it would be free of allied zone of control. It would negate that. But that's not the case. So it is going to be this one. This is what I thought would happen. That this bridge would get repaired if they drew a bridge engineers event, which they now have. So that's going to happen. Fix that bridge, and now all these 80 core units, which would have been in low supply if it hadn't been for this last card, can now trace over this bridge and away for their supply. So yeah, well, like I say, probably would have been worse activating the 47th again. So I've probably done all right out of that one. In a way, I'd rather not have had the bridge fixed as well, but you can't have everything. Okay, so that's that. So now we're on to the command card. So it's the... Right, always got to look at this one, check, don't just look at the colour. Right, so it is 67 core, so it's the red guys up the very top, so we're going to activate them now. Yeah, we activated them a couple of times and I don't think they've done anything, did they? I'm not sure much has changed. Okay, we're going to have a look. Okay, so no roadblocks adjacent to the units, and there's only the 3 units. No reserve units. Location objective marker. Well, this is the one that's got the core. The core objective marker is army objective marker. There's no units proximate or within 2 German units, and the core marker. There's still an allied unit within 3 of it. So none of them are going to move. So we're going to move on to the movement, and remember it's 9.23 because they are moving by core objective. And again, none of them are going to move. They're all adjacent to an allied unit. I don't think we even need to look into that anymore. I think because when you're moving by core objective, they want to move to the nearest allied unit, and they're all there. I don't think they can be tactically adjusted, even if if there was a stack of 2 of them and maybe one could move out and in an empty hex. Don't think you could do that because you're not actually moving the units within the method. I'm pretty sure that come up before, but anyway, it's not relevant just now. Maybe I'll have a look at that again if it happened to be the case, because they're all in their stack on their own. They're all on their own in their hexes. So attack determination. Well, there's no reserve units. There's no assault coordination. So what to determine? So you're looking at unit 4 here now. He could attack this unit, or he could get his help from this guy and attack that unit. So that's going to be the consideration, because this guy's got a +1 for an IP and a +1 for adjacent unit, whereas this has only got a +1. So it's going to be 7 against the +1 for being adjacent to an allied supplied unit. So 7 against 4, did I say? Right, it's no 2-1 then, is it? Yeah, it's just like, well, it'll be 1.5 to 1, won't it? Yeah, because 6 against 4 is 1.5 to 1. I think we eventually got that one worked out, Grant. I went back to school to work it out. So only 1-to-1 odds, and there's no modifiers. Yeah, nothing doing. So needs to be a low number. I'll just chuck the camera down there and roll this dice. So 1-to-1 odds, no modifiers. 5, I don't even think that'll do it. Cancel for less than 2-to-1 or only defender a week. But well, it is lesson 2-1, so that's going to cancel. And then the only other consideration is this unit, and he's got a strength of 4 or 5. Yeah, so it's 4 against 5, so that's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not. Don't think I'm missing any with that, but these guys can't really do anything. Admittedly, these units are now going to be going into low supply, so it might be a different story on the next day. If that happened if the next time the German units activate, but at the moment they're not really got an awful lot to do. Okay, I think that's going to be it then, isn't it? Yeah, nothing can bounce back to reserves. No dispersals. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so that's the last impulse over. No more cards left. Okay, so now going out the end of the day phase. Check the victory conditions. Well, we're still not. They don't start until the end of the 20th. So nothing doing there. Discard. It says discard your hand and draw pile. Well, that has been done. I'll also discard my sugar cube, and we'll get that back next turn. That was just to signify the activate any one unit, if you remember. Return combat chits to the cup, which I will do. Remove all disperse and out of fuel markers from the map. Don't think there's any disperse. There's no out of fuel yet, and I don't think there's any disperse markers. No. So, and then just before we advance the day mark on the calendar to start a new day, we've got to check the detachment markers for removal. So that's rule 15.3. So let me have a look at what that is again. Okay, so 15.3, during the end of the day phase, if either Allied or German supply cannot be traced to a detachment marker in a hex other than a town city or Westwall hex, remove the marker. And then we're making this check, all other detachments possess zone of control. But detachment markers are not removed from town city and Westwall hexes at this time. So this is when the detachments actually have a zone of control. But if any of them, what is it? Either Allied or German supply cannot be traced to. This is also another thing Martin brought up. There seems to be a bit of a, just with the wording of things within section 15 about detachments. It talks a lot about Allied supply being traced to the detachment marker. It uses the word to as if you're tracing it to there. Whereas under 13, if you look at supply, it's tracing from, it's all 13.1, tracing supply. A unit or hex is in supply if a path of no more than 4 hexes can be traced from the unit or hex rather than to. And he finds it a bit odd and a bit baffling, and not something I've noticed before. But it is rather odd that the wording of that is different. Maybe there's a reason for it. I'm not so sure. It seems that they both mean the same thing, so I think that's why I've not really picked up on it so much. It was in this regarding my query of hang on a sec. It came from we were talking about tracing over this German bridge but treating it as an unbridged river to trace supply, and this is why he brought it up. He did agree that you can trace over that bridge as an unbridged river though, so looks like it was right. Well, I think it's one of the rules that surely if it was in the German solo it would be in the Allied solo as well, so although that had to be confirmed by John because it's not really clear in the rules that. Anyway, okay, you can go, he made a comment on the video if you want to go and check more on that. Right, let's I'll start looking for these. If I spot any, I'll maybe come and show you rather than going through every one. Okay, there might be quite a few here. I'm not going to go through them individually. This is the first one I came across. Now remember, the towns and the west walls, they get left. But this one here is an example. Allied supply cannot be traced to that. German supply can, but Allied supply cannot. So that's going to get removed. So just to give you an example, I think here's another one here. Okay, it could trace across into there, but it's then stuck. It can't go through the town. So Allied supply is not traceable at that hex either. Okay, so I'm not going to go through them individually, but I'll just go and drag the ones off that I think are right, and hopefully we get it right. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I freed up quite a lot of detachments, and what I ended up doing was replacing these west wall detachments with the wee brown cubes. I figured the brown cubes on the cities and the west wall hexes, just to show the cities, and the west wall hexes obviously they're not relevant. But if you look elsewhere, there's only, I think, 3. There's one up here, one here, and one here. That's only 3 that are left as that aren't towns or west wall hexes. So I've got 3, 6, 9. I've got 14 detachment markers left here. So I think I was also putting the markers on the towns as well, which you do need to kind of signify that they have got a detachment, I think. But that's cleared things up a bit. Anyway. So I think that's the last part of the end of turn phase, isn't it? So just try to stretch this video out a little bit more. This is only 16 minutes long, but don't think I've been saying that before, have I? Although recently they've been a bit shorter, I think. Just uploading things a wee bit smaller parts, I suppose. Yeah, so advanced day marker on the calendar, that's us going into the 19th. We are going to get these reserves that were delayed next turn from the 8 core units. Unfortunately they get the 2nd SS coming in. We got a couple of units from the 5th Corps and one from the 18th. They also get additional units for the 67 Corps as well. A couple of mechanised units, I think. Actually, one of them's armoured, I think. And going into the 19, there's a few. Probably should just wait and talk about this once we start, but yeah, there's a couple of extra rules. I'll go over them when we come in. Yeah, I think. Right. Okay. Well, that seemed to take quite some time to get through that day, but we made it in the end. They are on. Haven't moved for a little while, but they're on 24 victory points, and the target. Well, we're not going to be winning, but we want to be less than. We want to be 40 at the most. Greater than 40 earns us a strategic loss on the end at the end of the 20th. So we need to be careful of that number. 24. It's only 17 points away. However, we shall see. Okay, I probably don't need to linger on anymore. I'll just upload this video as it is now to finish the end of the day, and we'll get on to the 19th soon. Okay guys, cheers.